Hello everyone, thanks for dropping by. In case you didn't recognise her, that's Claire Danes, and the only thing I think I've ever seen her in is Terminator Rise of the Machines. She's about the same height as me, and the usual question, and the answer is absolutely not. She's happily married with 3 children. If she was single, again, absolutely not, because her husband seems to be about 5 to 6 inches taller than her, which means Claire there is, like most women, attracted to guys much taller than them. So even if super wealthy and we got on, it's pointless dating her or any of these other actresses, as I'd simply be on a hiding to nothing and I'd rather stay single. Anyway, as a subject of dating, as you know, lots of people today use dating apps for going on potential dates, and as you've seen on the TikTok videos, lots of women are turning to TikTok to complain that the date didn't show up. Now that's starting to have a change, because looking over the weekend, I found, amongst other things, this. This, as you can see, is Medium. This was done on January the 1st this year, i.e. New Year's Day. As you can read, the best way to date in 2026, why singles are ditching dating apps. If you scroll down, it says during 2026, nothing looks nothing like it did 5 years ago. If you're single, and you'll probably notice the shift, fewer people are endlessly swiping on apps. More people are actually meeting in real life, and a growing recognition that the old way of doing things simply doesn't work. Old way as in dating apps. Singles across the country, that'd probably be America, are leading a quiet revolution in how people date. They're deleting Hinge, uninstalling Bumble, and rediscovering what actually creates lasting connections intentionally, human curation, and meeting people through trusted networks other than algorithms, just like our parents and grandparents did. As I've said on a previous video, Dad met Mum at Butlins in 1938. The dad was 18 and Mum was 19, and they were happily married for nearly 70 years. Anyway, it says, why dating apps failed. The dating app experiment is over. The results are in. It didn't work. Singles spent years swiping, matching and messaging, only to end up right back where they started. Frustrated, burnt out and single. And if you're a woman, you're complaining on TikTok. And the problem was never you. Dating apps are designed to keep you in the app. Of course, it's a business, not to get into a relationship. The dating model depends on your failure. Every successful relationship is a lost customer. Of course. Match Group, the parent company of Tinder, Hinge and Match, openly states that their SEC filings that revenue depends on user engagement, not user success. Well, even I could have told them that. And then smart singles figured this out. They realized that algorithm optimized for profit can't understand chemistry, compatibility, or what actually makes two people work together. In other words, they have to meet face to face and see if there's any chemistry there. A photo or a bio can't compare anyone's presence, their energy, or whether you'll actually enjoy spending time with them. And then more yada yada yada. And actually put all these links below. Now this was done, as I said, January 1st. Fast forward to January 26th, I found this, a site called Femtech World. I didn't know such a site existed. Why conventional dating apps no longer seem to be working for women. And the pitch is simple enough. Download an app, build a profile, swipe through photos and meet someone worth your time. For years women were told this was the efficient way to date. The reality has turned out differently. Inbox filled with messages that go nowhere. Conversations fizzle before they start. Profiles blur together after the 100th swipe. If faces all tend to look the same. and somewhere along the way the promise of connection becomes another chore on the to-do list. And if you drop down, the volume problem, whoops, women on mainstream dating apps receive far more messages than they can reasonably sort through. This sounds like a good problem until you sit with it for 5 minutes. Your brain starts to switch off after 5 minutes. Most messages require no effort to send. A man can copy and paste the same opener for 50 women in an hour. The women on the receiving end must read each one, assume the profile, assess the profile behind it, decide if a response is worth their time. And you notice it's given the blame towards men. That's what that bit came across to me. This dynamic rewards quality over quantity. Quantity over quality, sorry. Women who send more messages get more responses, so they send more messages. Men who spend more messages or get more responses, so they send more messages. That should be simps, not men. Women who receive more messages have less time to spend on any single conversation, so fewer conversations go anywhere. The system encourages behavior that makes the system worse. It encourages like an addictive habit. And then yada yada yada. Oh, I found this. This was done on January 3rd, 2026. This was before that one, so that should be fair. It says, what would happen if we walked away from dating apps in 2026? Dating apps promise connection. Instead, they left many of us anxious, disposable, and lonelier than ever. That could be a nod to the reality of single women and guys just not bothering anymore. Her mother doesn't believe when I tell her that the only real way to meet people these days is through dating apps. She's from a different generation, and where people met through friends, work, chance encounters, that was my mum and dad, or simple introductions. You met someone, you liked them, and you tried to make it work. That sounds like how my parents met. Today, dating seems nothing like that. It's even hard to imagine life was that simple once. And then if you drop down, research over the past few years have constantly linked dating apps to increase anxiety and stress, which we've seen on these TikTok videos. Lower self-esteem, i.e. where have all the good men gone? Addictive usage patterns, women going on lots of dates. Emotional burnout, we've seen that on TikTok. And then the illusion of endless choice. Too much choice leads to paralysis, that with anything. Dissatisfaction, we've seen that on the TikTok videos. Constant comparison, we've seen that on the TikTok videos. And this bit, I believe that something better is always out there, i.e. the women being picky, the 80-10 rule, or the 80-20 rule, or the 90-10 rule. We find a diamond and still keep fucking digging anyway. Why? Because they think they can always do better. And then we have a comparison of examples. How dating apps really work for most people, depending on how dating app dominant apps feel. The data tells a different story. While dating app uses have skyrocketed over the past decade, most long-term relationships simply don't start online. The friends, work, social circles, shared interests, and real-world environments. Like when I said when my parents met at Butlins, it was at, where was it? Skegness on the East Coast. And apps feel unavoidable, but they aren't the only way. They've just become the loudest. And what if we walked away from dating apps? Effort would return because access would be endless. Wouldn't be endless. Presence would matter more than performance. People would have to communicate instead of disappearing. Traditions would slowly reinstall themselves, i.e. going back to the way your parents and your grandparents met each other. Now, as I said, lots of yada yada. I've gone back to this, which was before, and over in America, in the state of Nevada, I found this. Generation Z and millennials are done with online dating. This was done on February the 12th, which is February the 12th, January 3rd, January 26th, about 2 weeks after. Now, it's more or less the same thing. 80 million Americans are using dating apps such as Hinge, Bumble or Tinder. And the answer matters, at least based on research by Stanford University, showing that more than half of American couples met their partners online in 2020, a 45% uptick since 2000. But in Nevada has some unique challenges, the largest of which is our rate of dating app-related catfishing and violence. According to 2024 Privacy Journal, the state ranks among one of the most dangerous states to online dating. Nevada's pretty empty, and I would say that an empty state, there's not many people around, so it could be a combination of that. A lot of predators may be in Nevada, and you have to be careful. And just one of the reasons why young Las Vegas site and skewing for apps besides mental health woes, inauthenticity and frustration over cost. Now if you scroll down, you got the examples. Now this, she's a girl, MP is another girl, a gig worker, wherever that is, undergraduate student. The LE, healthcare worker, 25, but she's in the prime years, approaching the wall, 29. She's in the prime years. And this article was written, of course, by a woman. Now, they're obscuring dating apps, but they're going for matchmaking, because I found this. This is, oh, it's like Charlene Theron. Come on. They're exhausted by dating apps, but they're paying 150 grand for matchmakers. Been asked to have 150 grand to spend on a matchmaker, even though I wouldn't. As dating app, it's not highlighting. As dating app fatigue takes hold, frustrated women are turning to high-end matchmakers as a solution to their dating woes. This was done on February the 13th this year, which incidentally falls on a Friday, i.e. Black Friday. And the example, this lady called Mimi, she's 45, way post-war, probably post-menopausal, 6 years post-divorce, and 1 year after ending an on-off relationship with a man she described literally as Mr. Big. She was recovering from a surgery and realized she didn't want to spend another holiday alone. But meeting eligible men, i.e. high-value guys with lots of options, has not been easy. Of course, she's 45 and she's divorcee. Coming from a prominent family, she worries that many of them are trying to date me for the wrong reasons, or date my father, not date me. In other words, she's been dating lots of chances, or the occasional Chad. Mimi says the community where she lives is known for billionaires and sprawling mansions. Not so much for a thriving singles scene. Last year, after getting her nails done, she picked up an issue of Goop, never heard of it, and read through a matchmaking firm called Kinku International. I was thought of matchmaking, but she was sick of the apps and out of other options, so she decided to fill in the profile. Now, Anna Germendia, she's founder of California-based high-end matchmaking firm, reached out and scheduled a call. Now, the area that she lives in is billionaires and sprawling mansions, so I would imagine it's either Beverly Hills or Bel Air. So you've got a 45-year-old post-divorce woman who's ending a 1-year on-off affair relationship with a guy with options that she calls Mr. Big, probably got a big dick, and she was recovering from surgery and she realised she's all on her own. She didn't want to spend another holiday alone. So she coughed up 150 grand for this matchmaking company in California to get her into a relationship with somebody who is more compatible. But a woman in that price and wealth category won't date down, but the guys in equal to her or more wealthier, they don't want to go with a 45-year-old woman. So either way, she's screwed. I could tell they're very selective about who they're taking on. What Genuina did promise was a bespoke service that would understand what Mimi really needs in a partner, introduced her to men who might fit the bill, and act as a coach to support her through the dating process. And within days, she signed a 6-month contract, 150 grand. I just felt it like, fuck it, it's a lot of money, but what's more important than yourself? If I didn't, I feel like I was going to regret it and always wonder what if. And if you can't give it yourself, that's great. I'm unfortunate that I could. And then we go on for examples for decades. Men are far more likely than women to hire a professional matchmaker. Women who were pursued by matchmakers for their clients typically did not pay. But the boot's on the other foot now. And then more examples. No more about Mimi. Single people. 78% according to Forbes Health One poll have dating app fatigue. And the latest season of Just Like That carries Gen Z subletter Lizette sums up the collective frustration. It's just such a messed up time to be dating. My phone is who I'm in a relationship with. I spend every waking hour scrolling, swiping, texting, and it's all hurtful and meaningless. I'm so sick of it. And then we have more yada. You notice the women in that era, they dress like women and not like guys. And for Sarah, hiring a matchmaker was a revolutionary moment in my life. She's a 45-year-old single mother of 3 and founder of 2 companies. In other words, she's a career woman. Where's the child's father? She had trouble finding a confident, successful man who could fit into her life. Over dinner one night, a close friend told her that if he had hired Jennifer Donnelly, CEO of Dallas-based Ultimate Matchmaker, it was the best thing he had ever done. She recalls him saying, "We spent this kind of money on a car and we're talking about the rest of our lives." The investment is not that challenging for the caliber of professional success. In other words, she had the money to burn. That they both have achieved. It was a light bulb moment. And then yada 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 about it. On and on and on and on and on. A long article. And meet the matchmakers. I wonder if they're all married. That's the Jennifer Donnelly. Anyway, that's Ellie. Moving on, because I'm getting on close to 20 minutes now. Regarding matchmakers, I found this. Agate Matchmaking. Now, this is probably an American TV chat show thing. Jenna and Inelli. Never heard of it, not being an American. It says why Gen Z is ditching dating apps and the dating strategies they're using instead. Now this is an introduction to that lot there. Meet the Single Going at Analog 2026. Naomi. Mailers. He's that guy. And then apps creating a stimulation of dating, not actual dating, of course. Apps remove the social muscle of rejection. Apps make you passive. What matchmakers think about the shift. As a matchmaker, this is music to my ears, of course. They'll get business. Matchmaker's Guide to Meeting People. Approach. How to approach, make eye contact, smile, walk over and say something simple. That's how your parents and grandparents met. And the real reason the shift matters. Be intentional where you go. Make eye contact and smile. Approach people you're interested in. Use apps as meet-up tools, not dating simulators. Participate in your community. And then this is written by another woman. And this found a site called Mashable.com. Why burnt out millennials are turning to slow dating apps in 2026. So the dating apps are still there, but it's a slow dating app. You may have sympathy for millennials, the generation born 81 and 96. They're basically speedrunning the tech revolution since they were teenagers. First cohort of young people to have cell phones, which we call them mobiles. Most of them are in their 20s when the original iPhone came out, so they're truly digital natives, as a home with apps from prior generations with typewriters and rotary phones. Even I remember them. And public phone boxes, the A and B button over here in Britain. And similarity comes at a cost. Dating app burnout. If millennials are the first generation to swipe their way through their local singles, they're also the first generation to experience cuffing session on the apps, be ghosted and haunted. Heck, millennials practically wrote the modern dating glossary because they experienced it first. And then slow dating, deliberate conscious effort to eschew the fast pace of regular dating apps and each give new single their profile more time and attention than a swipe-based dating economy typically follows. Or why don't they just ditch all that together and do it the old-fashioned way, meeting somebody in person? But then again, at these single events, guys don't want to go there because they don't want to pay a sum to be humiliated. And then, where's the best online service for slow dating? Coffee Meets Bagel, Hinge, Match. But it's still just a business, and they're there to keep you on the app and not to get you hitched up with somebody. And to finish this off, because I think I'm on past 20 minutes now, I found this, The Atlantic. Now this was done today, the August 3rd, 2026, at 6 o'clock this morning, Eastern Standard Time in America. And about 90 seconds ago, 3 minutes, with a stranger, began to think I'm down alone and not so bad after all. I'd come to a candlelit loft in Manhattan, a mindful single event. Must be a single, could be more women than guys, called The Feels, designed to be the opposite of disembodied experience of dating apps. Participants' phone tucked away paired up and attempted a series of somatic awareness exercises, whatever that is, including staring each other's eyes, hugging and holding a hand over each other's heart. That sounds awful. I'd been warned that discomfort is part of the process. A facilitator had reminded us, as long as consent and respect is involved, a little awareness opens the door to vulnerability, but you got to pay $100 for the process of doing it. And the mere exercise of The Fields, which hosts sites in cities across America, suggests they're living in a time of romantic plenty. In New York City, I could go a dating event every week, every night of the week. It's probably the current thing in New York. I could use a matchmaking service to talk with a dating coach or sign up for one of the many newsletters trying to bring back personal ads. Even if I didn't live in a major city, I have dating apps to choose from, not only Tinder and Hinge, but a zillion others. Platform for farmers, gamers, single parents, cannabis enthusiasts. Don't do drugs. The drugs are bad for you. A member of the gluten-free community. She's got 4 apps in her current rotation, 370 message threads and 455 likes that I need to evaluate. Or she could ditch the lot and do it the old-fashioned way. But it seems that dating apps is now not the current thing. And what's that? Conventional dating apps no longer seem to be working for women. So that's why you're probably seeing women going to these single events, but no guy in his right mind would want to go there. Just a few thirsty simps. I would never go to a singles event. I'm quite happy being on my own, as are a lot of men these days, but we're still coming up to 2030, and it's going to take an entire generation, or most of an entire generation of women dying alone with no children before it gets through to women in general, that the dating apps have done them no good at all, and the way they're going to meet their future husband and father their children is the old-fashioned way of meeting people face to face, which means the entire Western society is going to have to go back to the way it used to be when it comes to meeting up with people. But I'll try and find something else on this for next week, but I'm over 30 minutes now, so you know the routine, people, like, dislike, etc. Completely up to you. So until next Monday, that's it from me. Bye bye.